I never thought that I had an issue or that it really even affected me in any way because I was in complete and total denial. It really doesn't have any negative effects whatsoever. I'm fine. Leave me alone. I'm not quitting coffee. Like, you can come for everything else, but you can't come for that coffee. That's basically where I was at up until 9 days ago. I drank coffee every single day for the last 20 years, and I quit cold turkey 9 days ago. In this video, I'm going to share with you everything that I've experienced and what I've learned. And one thing that was most shocking to me, which I didn't know honestly when I quit, but if I had known this one single thing, which so few people are talking about, I honestly would have second guessed drinking caffeine. I may have quit much sooner if I had known about this. So that is one thing I do want to share with you. Obviously, whatever you're going to do, you need to do what's right for you, but I do want to share what I've experienced so far. Today, right now, I am on day 9. Over this video, I want to share with you day 1 through day 7, everything that I've experienced, and obviously just the final update, which is at day 9, which is now. What I consumed basically was 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and it was 1 tablespoon of Folgers, and I used a pour over method. A few hours later, I would have some other form of caffeine. More recently, what I was consuming was yerba mate, thank you, Andrew Huberman, and I kept it to a very specific amount that was supposed to be 50 milligrams worth of caffeine. Even though it sounds like I didn't consume a lot of caffeine, in my opinion, that's what I thought. I thought that I consume so little compared to other people, which you shouldn't really compare yourself to other people because everybody's different, but that's where my mind was. I'm like, I consume so little compared to others, and this does not affect me, by the way. I was in total denial. I don't have bread, I don't have gluten, I don't have dairy. Wow, you can take everything from me, but I thought all I had left was coffee, and it's like, you can't come for the coffee. I am not giving it up. I was very stubborn, and I was so much in denial. Basically, I developed a bad headache in the afternoon. To be honest, I've had worse headaches than this, but it was unpleasant. It was just one of those days where it's like, I have a horrible headache, and I also feel like I can't, be very productive on the computer like I normally am. I'm so normally from caffeine. I am hyper focused, and I can just work like a little maniac, but that was not happening. So on day 1, I was just struggling. I was just laying around and watching TV. I played a couple old video games, but really I just watched TV and tried to get rid of the headache. It wasn't any worse than other headaches I've been dealing with. So in the couple weeks prior to this, I was on and off dealing with sinus-related headaches that were quite painful. So it wasn't any better or worse than that. It was just very similar. Then the next morning, so day 2, I ended up having a period of fleeting temptation. It was the one time, this whole time, I haven't had it since, where I thought I should cheat, where already I was gonna quit. And I don't know what that was. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. It's just like this flash of a thought, and I flipped the switch for my kettle to boil water like I normally do when I make coffee, and then I just walked away and forgot about it and never thought about it again and never had the temptation again. So on day 2, I had kind of a mild sporadic headache, and I found that I couldn't focus to do computer work. I just could not stay focused. I could not stay engaged. I just couldn't sit there. I couldn't be on the computer. I didn't want to answer any emails, which was really bad. I got really behind in emails over this period of time. And so I ended up doing work outside that I had probably been procrastinating on. So I just stayed very active in that way. This is where some things started changing for me. I woke up in REM having a very vivid, interesting dream, and this is what's been going on ever since I quit coffee. I have been dreaming every single day. Every morning when I wake up, I'm like in a dream, remembering it, and it's been kind of fun because I haven't had that since I was a teenager. This morning I feel fine, yet tired, and not motivated or focused enough to do work on the computer. And then that morning I ended up taking a 1-hour nap in the morning, which is quite a long time. In the past, long ago, I used to sometimes take 20-minute power naps that felt amazing. I would feel refreshed from it, just 20 minutes. Now this time I took a 1-hour nap, and according to my Aura ring and my stats, it said that I went both into REM and to a deep sleep, which is kind of impressive. And I felt it because when I woke up, I felt like $1,000,000. Like, I cannot believe how amazing I felt. Normally, over the last however many years, I absolutely cannot take naps anymore because frankly, I've got caffeine in my system and I just can't take any naps. Like I said, I wasn't very productive that day on the computer doing work like I normally do, so I was outside working again. Now, that night, I ended up sleeping for 9 hours, which is definitely unusual for me. And I had 16% deep sleep and 30% REM. Definitely was dreaming a lot again. And I woke up feeling really different and really great. Now, in my opinion, I don't think I'm going to continually be getting 9 hours of sleep a night. You never know, things can change in the future. But I will say that averaging out the last 9 days, my sleep has been about the same amount of sleep that I had prior to quitting coffee. Now, that's not great. I was hoping it'd be like way more, but I'm still going through this transition phase, so I think that's going to definitely take time, like another month or two, to know for sure how much I'm going to be sleeping. Within the first 3 days, I did sleep more than normal, but it's kind of evened back out to my normal sleep amount. When it comes to the different sleep stages, I think I'm going to need more time before I can share with you, like, if anything in particular has improved. I'm going to need like weeks more of data to know, because it's only been 7 days and my sleep is really like jacked up right now. So I'm adjusting to the new change, but I will keep you guys posted. I also have a full post about my experience on my website, lifeanddiy.com, so you can check back there because I'll give updates there as well. Now, on day 4, it was a turning point for me. And on that day, I threw out all my caffeinated beverages. And this is so hard to put into words, but I feel so unbelievably different as a person, uncaffeinated versus caffeinated. And I had this epiphany, I had this realization. I was sitting outside appreciating nature and realizing, I feel so different. I feel lighter. I feel like there's this toxic energy that I didn't know that I had from the caffeine. On top of that, I'm feeling emotions in a more real way, which is hard to explain. I want to remember this forever, because once you readjust, once you adapt to a change, you end up forgetting certain things. And I don't want to ever forget this. The way I felt when I was living in that caffeinated state, as overly dramatic as it might sound, I felt like a different person. I felt so different, so much lighter, so much more at peace. I felt like I betrayed myself, like I was an altered version of myself for the last 20 years. And I just found that kind of disturbing, sad, but I'm happy that I quit caffeine now because I'm not going back. I want to be myself, and I don't want to feel this strange, toxic energy. I don't want to feel that way that I did. The thing is, like, I had no idea that I felt that way while I was caffeinated. I thought I was doing great, but I think I was lacking in a level of peace and serenity. You really truly are altering your body and your brain when you use caffeine. And it can have many different effects, which I've noticed. That night, I ended up sleeping for about 7 hours and 12 minutes, which is okay. It's kind of normal for me. It's not that great. And normally I would probably be quite tired if that's the amount of sleep I got. And on day 5, I was feeling very tired, and I fell asleep on the couch 2 times. So yeah, I definitely didn't get enough sleep for whatever reason. Day 6, I was basically groggy and unfocused. So I was a little groggy, I was a little grouchy, a little unfocused, and I felt really weird. I felt a strange disconnection from the world, from myself. I don't really know. It almost resembled a mild depression. And then I ended up not being able to work on the computer again, and that was day 6. So I ended up working outside, and I got a lot of work done. Like, I did a lot of physical work, and that was it. And I actually felt much better. I no longer felt that weird experience of feeling disconnected and just like zoning out and just feeling weird and horrible. So that went away. So on day 7, I woke up once again remembering many dreams and feeling very groggy, but it subsided within 15 minutes. That was a good day for me. On day 7, it was the first day where I felt like I could focus and concentrate to a decent level and work on the computer, and I only was able to do it about half the day. By around noon, I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't handle anymore. I did a lot of work outside. I was using a chainsaw, and I did work cutting a stump off. So we had this huge stump left over. I need to do more work on it, but I got like 1.5 feet off, so it's much, much lower. I'm still trying to get this other part off, but I need to do some stuff with the chainsaw. I learned to use a chainsaw recently, you guys, okay? I'm very proud of myself, trying to be very careful, and I have another video on that if you want to check it out. It's my vlog, but I've gotten way more familiar with the chainsaw. My point is, this type of work in the past would have left me with some shoulder problems, especially overnight. And I am not trying to say that this has cured me of it. I just don't know what's going on recently since I'm trying to figure out when this started, but I have bursitis and I was diagnosed with thoracic outlet a long time ago. It's just this darn right shoulder, and maybe part of this is a result of me working out my arms way more over the last year, because I have been. So that could be part of it, but even weeks ago, I did something, and I think it was when I used the chainsaw, I did have issues overnight where my arm, it woke me up because my arm hurt and my fingers went numb. And that's usually how it goes for me. So in the past, even if I use just a regular drill or an impact driver, I have that. And it's like, are you kidding me? Just from using a drill? Like, that's so pathetic. Just a drill. And now I'm out there using the chainsaw. That night, I mean, I've been using it multiple times this week. I did not wake up at all with my fingers going numb and with pain in my arm. It makes sense because caffeine stimulates your central nervous system, which leads to the release of stress hormones, including cortisol. Cortisol helps the body manage stress and regulate glucose levels and metabolism, though it has many more functions. What I didn't realize was that cortisol is a potent anti-inflammatory. According to this research, if cortisol is elevated for a prolonged period of time, it can contribute to widespread inflammation and pain. Since I'm not drinking coffee, maybe more cortisol is available and functioning better as an anti-inflammatory. Or maybe my sleep quality is better and that helps my body recover as well. There's one thing when I was doing work outside, when I was working extensively, it was on day 7. And when I came in, my body was a little sore already, which was a little weird to have soreness right away. My lower back was just like really feeling not so great. And I was concerned with my shoulder. Things just felt a little creaky, like not great, because I was doing some like really weird maneuvers, the way I was like crouched down and stuff. That ended up going away, and like the next morning, I just feel like I don't feel a thing. So like I said, not trying to get overly hyped. I know I sound like I am, but that's a big deal to me. For a little bonus update, I just want to share with you what's been going on since day 8 and day 9. As of day 8, it was the first day where I was able to work on the computer like for an extended period of time. I felt like I could be productive and focused, and I feel it even better today. And this morning I've been working on the computer, I've been doing some stuff around the house, and I also worked out. And so I'm really feeling like back in business. I'm feeling so much better right now. One other thing that was kind of an issue for me before when I was having caffeine is that every evening I would hang out with my son, relax on the couch, watch some shows prior to bedtime and after eating. And we would do that, but by 6 p.m., just 6 p.m., sometimes even earlier than that, I could not keep my eyes open and I was completely passed out like an old grandpa on the couch. And I just cannot tell you how many times this has happened, to the point where my new bedtime became 6 p.m. and that really messed me up. The cool thing is, since getting off of the caffeine, that is not happening, because apparently, I didn't realize this, that was probably a caffeine crash. And so I'm not having that anymore, and I just feel like a steady amount of energy throughout the day until it's closer to bedtime. Since getting off the caffeine, I've been going to sleep around 7. Of course, in the future, I'm hoping I can change that and like get it later and later. But as of right now, my body's still adjusting, and right now it's at 7. Some of you guys have watched some of my past videos and know that I've had some real struggles of excessive hunger issues. And this is something that started after I decided to do the carnivore diet as an elimination diet for a period of time. And during that period of time, I developed issues of my sleep cycles got a bit dysregulated or just greatly altered. And then I had issues of just waking up too early. I've still struggled to change my wake up time, but we'll see how that goes over the coming months. The thing that I have noticed over the last 7 days, obviously everything that I say here, it could still change. It's still subject to change completely. This is just how it is right now. I feel like my hunger issues, my insane hunger issues have lessened. I feel like I'm just so much more balanced. My body has calmed down. It is not completely haywire now. And I am not absolutely ravenously, deathly starving. And I mean, I even gained weight from that because I was eating so much more. I was trying so hard to get in more fats, to get in more calories. And I did gain about 10 pounds from that experience, which is, it's fine because I was probably a little bit on the low end of my weight, like maybe too much. I'm not sure, but we'll just see what happens. My body needs to adjust to the new normal. One other thing I noticed is that my blood glucose levels have been elevated over the past week. They've been elevated around like high 90s to 100 on average since I started doing this, and that is definitely not my normal. It's been kind of interesting to see that. I've had this happen to me before when I was under a period of stress. I personally don't feel stressed now, and it's interesting because today my glucose levels were dropped down a bit more towards the 80s, and so stress can affect you for sure. Also, my HRV, heart rate variability, was a lot lower, and it bumped up by like 10 points today, so I must have turned a corner because I also feel so much better today than the other days. You know how back in the day tobacco was recommended as, good for you, and even doctors would recommend it, pregnant mothers would be smoking, and there was, a big marketing campaign that made that very successful and pushed that message out to us. Now, since then, we've also been told that fats are very bad for you, and we've seen a huge change in the health of our country in the United States after we villainized fat and recommended people go to low-fat, processed chemical replacements and sugar replacements, whatever it is. Certain industries are very, very, very deceptive. All I know, you guys, is that coffee is a profitable drug. It is a drug. This is something that is making companies so much money. This is like probably one of the most profitable things I can think of because you need this every day for the rest of your life. That's what it feels like. There is a lot of confusion when it comes to coffee, and I've felt it myself. You hear about research and you're like, coffee's Dr. Oz, Dr. Axe, whoever. They're like, coffee's good for you. There are pros and cons. It is good for you. Learn to have balance. All this garbage, in my opinion. I am a bit anti-coffee now, you guys, if you've noticed, because I feel like I've wasted part of myself and part of my life when I didn't need it. And I have felt like trash for a very, very long time with extreme fatigue issues, and this did not help me. All I know is I feel more normal and more alive and more like I should since getting off of it. And that became so apparent to me on day 4. And even on day 3, I started realizing this and just being in awe and in shock of how different I could feel. And so that has been the most profound thing to me. The thing that I discovered, which I had never ever heard of, and it was mostly being talked about 11 years ago on a couple news channels, is that when you consume caffeine, the blood flow to your brain decreases by 22 to 30%, maybe even more than that. There was this one journalist who ended up having a scan done before drinking coffee and after drinking coffee, and for her, it decreased her blood flow to the brain 40%. Now, in what world do I want to decrease the blood flow to my brain 20 to 40%? There's no way. How in the world could that be good for me? And it is honestly concerning that I've been consuming caffeine for so many years, decades, that what could that do to the brain? What type of adaptations does the brain have? And what does that do to the brain over a period of 20 years where you're lacking in blood flow to that degree? That is something to think about. Quite a lot of studies have been done on this. The study from 2004, showing an average of 22% blood flow reduction, involved patients consuming 250 milligrams of caffeine, which is a decent amount. Research states that the reduction in blood flow depends on numerous factors, including the amount of caffeine that you regularly consume. So it looks like 2 cups of coffee has a lesser impact than 4, but all of the studies I've seen show decreases in blood flow even with smaller amounts of caffeine. When this reduction of blood flow occurs, studies show that it causes a narrowing effect of your middle cerebral artery, which is one of the major arteries supplying oxygen and nutrients to your brain. With 250 milligrams of caffeine, the diameter of the artery decreases by about 4.3%, while overall blood flow to the brain decreases around 22%. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below, and definitely please share your experiences down below if you've also given up coffee and caffeine and you've had, an interesting experience to share. I would love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.